First of all, welcome everyone to the RU session. My name is Mozel Sharif. I'm the Science Initiatives Coordinator. And in this presentation, we'll be talking about the research experience for undergraduates program. As you might have seen already, we've announced the program that will be taking place in the summer of 2021. So just before we go ahead and start with the session, it's very brief. So first, we will be talking about the introduction to MBRC in brief terms. Then we will move on to the Emirates Mars mission very briefly as well. And then we will talk about in detail about the RU program. Just to clarify, there is a question and answer box at the bottom of your screen, where if you do have any questions, please feel free to leave them there, and I'll be sure to check them by the end of the session, and I will address each question as we go. We have up until 1 p.m. So I'll try to answer as many questions as possible. And if we do not get the chance to answer your questions, I will refer you to an email address that you can contact us through, and we will answer any of your questions there. Also, just to note, this session will be recorded, so you will have access to this at a later stage if you have anything else that you would want to clarify. One final detail is that we will be running this same session on Sunday, December 20, from 12 to 1 as well. So if anyone would like to attend this again or share this session to any of their friends or any of their colleagues that they would be interested in this program, please feel free to share this with them as well. And we will be announcing that on our social medias as well. So without further ado, I'm going to just give a brief introduction to MBRC. First of all, hold on. The session was known as the Emirates Institution for Advanced Science and Technology, which was established in February 2006. And then on April 18, 2015, a decree has been issued to incorporate EAST as the newly established center known as the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center. The vision and mission of the center, first of all, we'll tap onto the vision, is to be recognized globally as a center of excellence in the field of space science and technological innovation. As for the mission, is to enable the UAE to effectively create, use, and exploit space science technologies and applications. So this is just a brief vision and mission of the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center. The main sectors of the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center is space operations management. So you would see this through the ground station and satellite mission planning, as well as space exploration. You would see this through, for example, the Emirates Mars mission Hope probe to Mars, as well as the research, development, and innovation. So things that include NIF1 and NSOP, the remote sensing application competition as well, and as well as other analysis reports, which include change detection, vegetation, and water quality, to provide other entities as well with details that they might have use of within their own plans. Other than that, we have the space systems development as well, such as Dubai Sat 1 and 2 and Khalifa Sat as well. So this is just a brief on the main sectors of the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center. But targeting the RU program, which mainly falls under the Emirates Mars mission, I'll just give a brief on the Emirates Mars mission, which is that the UAE Space Agency and MBRC signed an agreement on October 20, 2014 to build the first Arab Mars space probe, which is known as the Emirates Mars mission Hope probe. And the objectives of the Emirates Mars mission is to complete Mars orbit insertion by the UAE's 50th anniversary in 2021. And to contribute to the development of the S&T sector, which is the science and technology sector in the UAE, and to develop the UAE scientific capabilities. So we do this mainly through the programs that we offer students, professors, researchers, and more, and to increase the UAE's contribution to the scientific community as well. So what will EMM do? We've hyped this up through social medias and everywhere, but just to clarify, the Emirates Mars mission is a mission that's focused on atmospheric dynamics, and it will explore the atmosphere of Mars globally while sampling both diurnal and seasonal timescales. So why do we do things such as the RU program, and other than that, we do other workshops, events, webinars, and other programs as well that highlight that's tailored to students as well as professors and researchers. So we would say, what is the importance of science outreach is to basically stimulate the students, faculty, and researchers in the UAE to be engaged in the space science and research field, since our main target is to increase this kind of contribution, and to also develop the students' capabilities and research skills, since we want to involve them in this kind of future as well, and to provide interactive platforms and opportunities to enrich the UAE community with the knowledge of space science, and to involve them as well in the mission. So as mentioned, I won't be going to each program in detail, but we have things such as the RU program, the Explore Mars competition, the annual science workshop, the research grants program, and other than that, workshops, webinars, and camps as well. Um, you will be able to see any announcements with regards to any of those programs in our social medias, whether it's the MBRC page or the Emirates Mars Mission, Hope Mars Mission page on social media as well. But for this presentation, we'll be talking about the RU program, the one that's highlighted on the far left. So what is the RU program? It's known as the Research Experience for Undergraduates program. The purpose is to stimulate students' interest in space science and research fields. And the target is for Emirati undergraduates under science and engineering majors who are either sophomores, juniors, and seniors that are not graduating in the fall of 2021. So this is basically for the next batch of the RU program. So what is the description of what is the RU program in specific detail? It's an international internship opportunity. So the students who get accepted into the RU program can have their program take place in various locations, which I will be sharing in the next slide. And it takes place during the summer for 8 to 10 weeks. And students are mentored by the Emirates Mars Mission science team or by international scientists, depending on where they will be located for the RU program. And they will be working on space science research projects. And from these projects, they will come up with certain results and findings that they can also showcase in through scientific publications in internationally known conferences, whether they are local or international conferences. So these are the RU program locations. The students who are accepted can have their RU program take place in either the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center or the Laboratory for Atmospheric and Space Physics in the University of Colorado in Boulder, or the Space Sciences Lab in the University of California, Berkeley, or in Northern Arizona University. So basically those are the partners in the United States. And then we have LMD, which is in Sorbonne University in France. And we recently had United Arab Emirates University in Al Ain take part in the RU program as a partner, where the National Space Science and Technology Center will be hosting one or two students for the next summer. So these are basically the RU program locations, and hopefully within the next coming years, we will try to add as many partners in which we will be able to accommodate more students to take part in the RU program. So what are the expectations of students who are accepted in the RU program? One is to have the students attend a boot camp. The name doesn't sound as intense as it is, but it's a 3-day kind of camp where students will be provided with a solid foundation in space science and research. So once they do get exposed to the research that they are conducting during the RU program, they are not surprised and they are familiar with the terms that we use through this camp. So it's kind of a solid foundation that is provided to the students before they before they begin with their RU program. Second is that they are present on all days of the RU program, unless the university or the lab is closed. Um, and if in any case, if there's any official holiday or if any students request an emergency or medical leave. Um, the thing is, I do understand that many students as of now are probably wondering that since there are terms of lockdown and corona happening right now, and I will be talking about this at the end, but can be this issue can we can overcome this issue by having things done virtually as well, but you'll be working with the same partners. um, so other than that, because we need to follow up with the students and their progress, students will be requested to share their biweekly progress reports to MBRC, to just showcase the work that they have done and share any concerns that they might be having throughout the program, and to be fully invested in the task assigned, and work for 40 hours per week, which is basically a good time to ensure that students do achieve each milestone set for them, in order to reach to publishable results that they can showcase later on. And also they will utilize heavily their programming skills in their assigned tasks. So we normally tend to familiarize students with the Python programming language. However, each mentor might request a student to work with their specific programming language of their own. But at least having a student to be familiar with one programming language can easily, I wouldn't say easily, but at least allow them to be familiar with certain terms found in programming. And another expectation is that the student will become an integrated member of the team and actively work with their mentors. So students tend to be involved in meetings, whether they are updates or something related to their research projects as well. And they would actively work with their mentors to achieve each milestone set for them. And they would prepare presentations, scientific papers, and posters as requested by the mentors. This doesn't apply to anything that is shared in the conferences that I've mentioned, but this is mainly for um, uh, um, if it's mainly for the mentor himself, or if it's for a group of students, because in some cases we do have students that work with other students as well, whether they are Emiratis or international students as well, where they will be presenting their work or will be working with other groups of students, and to represent their country and culture in a positive manner wherever they may go for the RU program. And to finally prepare a presentation for the EMM science team when their RU program has concluded. We usually request the students prepare a presentation that they would share to the Emirates Mars Mission Science team, since mentors might not be of the Emirates Mars Mission Science team, and would be of international scientists. So what are the benefits of joining the program? Before I move on, I just want to remind everyone that if you have any questions, please feel free to share them in the question and answer box at the bottom of your screen. Okay, so the benefits of joining the program is that distinguished students would potentially be offered a full-time scholarship to pursue an advanced degree in science or engineering field. Other than that, distinguished students could also be offered the opportunity to directly join the the Emirates Mars Mission Science team on a full-time basis as well. So we do have a student that is pursuing a full-time scholarship who was part of the RU program. Her name is Noura Saeed, and she is currently working on her PhD. Another thing is that one distinguished student who is currently working under the Emirates Mars Mission Science team is someone called Noor Al Meheri, and she was a RU student back in 2017. Other than that, the work that is conducted in the RU program can be used as an initial step for a senior thesis project in wherever your home university may be. And finally, this internship opportunity would be a good prerequisite for any graduate level science or engineering program that the student might apply to in the future as well. So this would be a really good foundation to solidify your understanding of space science and research. So what are some of the outcomes of the program? One is that since 2015, the RU program had witnessed a lot of success stories from the students that have been accepted. And one is that students get to present in different scientific meetings where they would participate in. When I refer to scientific meetings, I wouldn't only highlight conferences, as I've mentioned. Whenever there are certain events where we expect a lot of professors to join, a lot of other students to join, students get the chance to participate in those where they would present the research that they worked on there and get feedback from other professors. And as mentioned, students get to present their scientific publications in conferences, whether it is through oral presentations or posters. And we would normally uh, get the students to actually attend those conferences and get to communicate with other members of the UAE science community and international as well. Also, speaking of the graduate degree, we want to ensure that the students develop their skills. So you would have students who were basically this RU program was eye-opening to them, and they pursued a graduate degree, whether it was in planetary science, in physics, or astronomy, or in any degree that would fall along the lines. And last but not least, we ensure that the RU program equips students with the knowledge that they might need in order for them to understand how to handle scientific data from other scientific missions, so that they can actually be involved in EMM to conduct these scientific research when using EMM data. So here's just some statistics to share with you. Throughout the years of the RU program since 2015, we've had a total of 31 students that took part in the RU program. Um, you might assume that it's kind of like a limited number of students, but because of the number of mentors who are willing to accept students to take part of the program, that's why we have certain limitations when it comes to students, which is also why we try as best as we can to include more partners in the RU program so that we can involve more students. Um, and this year was the first year that we've tried to conduct the RU program virtually, which is why we expected the least amount of students to take place that we were able to host, because of the time differences we were experiencing, as well as a lot of students expected to have a more face-to-face interaction with their mentors. So at least two students out of the batch that we originally planned to have accepted being part of a virtual RU program. Um, Other than that, from those 31 students, we've had a total of 21 publications that have been submitted to international conferences as well. So when it comes to trip preparation, and here's where I'm going to highlight what will happen if by the time comes of the summer of 2021, if Corona is still alive with us. Um, so when it comes to the trip preparation, normally we would organize for the students to actually travel to either the US or France, which is where our partners are located internationally. And we would encourage the students to either book the flights themselves, or we would do it for them, where we would book the flights for the students to go to these certain places. Other than that, housing is provided as well for the students, whether it is in the USA or France. Um, uh, just like the flight details, we could either have students book their own accommodation or request MBRC to do that for them. Female students are allowed to take one companion only, which in which will be sponsored by MBRC. However, if someone decides to have if, let's say if a female student decides to have more than one companion go on with their RU trip, this would be this companion would not be part sponsored by MBRC to go with them. We're only allowed to sponsor one per female student. Unfortunately, that does not apply to the male students. And finally, the students would acquire a US visa if they are going to participate in the RU program in the United States. Okay, so as we mentioned, the RU program has been announced, and if you're interested in participating in something like this, the deadline is the deadline to register would be on January 3rd, 2021. And if you do have any inquiries, you can send it through to ru@mbrc.ae. So just to showcase this to everyone, how to apply, you should just visit the emiratesmarsmission.ae website, and then you would click on the Generation Hope tab at the top. You would find it in the kind of like top right side, and then you would see a tab, sorry, like a button for the Research Experience for Undergraduates program, and you would be able to view all the details of the program over there. In the case that you do have a question that that is not addressed anywhere on the page, you can send us an email on the link shared on the email shared on this slide below. So it's just ru@mbrc.ae, and I will be sharing this with you in the chat box by the end of my presentation. And basically, once you scroll down to the bottom, you will be able to see the registration box, where you would be filling out details to the registration form. But just a heads up, there are certain things that are required for the student to fill out, whether there is certain personal statements, details about themselves, as well as certain documents that they would need to submit, including their CV, Emirates ID, passport, transcript, and recommendation letters from their professors. So these will be shared in as attachments as well. So yeah, basically that is it from my end. Now I'm going to leave it. Oh, sorry. Yeah, these are the things that I've mentioned earlier when it comes to the submission guidelines. These are the documents that you would need to apply for the RU program, and they will be shown in tabs as well in the registration form, where you would need to upload these documents. And now I'm going to leave you with Abdullah, who is going to share with you his experience in the RU program as well. Just hold on, let me stop sharing my screen. You can go ahead, Abdullah.
All right, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for coming. I don't have any good slides like Moza prepared for you, so you'd have to bear with me through this. So I'm going to be talking to you today about my RU experience. First of all, my name is Abdullah Amri, and let me see if this is working over here. So I go to the University of Colorado Boulder here. I do aerospace engineering and mathematics, applied mathematics, and this is the beautiful city of Boulder, Colorado. But you know, I do aerospace, so I'm a space nerd, just like all of you here. And I'm gonna start with my research first, so I can get out of the way. Then I can talk about my RU experience. My research essentially was about Mars. Mars is a big thing since a long time, really. On the right here, you can see think a book cover for H.G. Wells, The War of the Worlds, which first imagined like aliens from Mars raiding us. And in the middle, obviously, you can see the Hope probe, and there's also the E-2117 city on Mars. And the big idea out of this is that Mars is a big thing. Everyone is focusing on Mars now. And my research essentially studied the atmosphere in Mars. We use data from MAVEN. MAVEN is a mission run by CU and LASP. LASP is the Laboratory of Atmospheric and Space Physics, which is one of the partners that Hampshire Space Center partners with. And I did my research there. So what we did throughout my research, that we were studying the atmosphere of Mars. And as you may know, you may not know, that the atmosphere of Mars has been evaporating, essentially, in a sense, for a long, long, long time. And what we did, that we studied how this uh, atmosphere started to evaporate, essentially, by making 2D maps. That's what you see here, 2D maps of the atmosphere of Mars. So I'm gonna save you from the trouble of trying to explain all of that to you, because it can't fit in 10 minutes. What I'm gonna talk to you about is my RE experience. And essentially what I wanna get to you is that the RE experience is something that goes, at least for me, it goes beyond research, because you're just there with a lot of interesting people and really interesting mentors and well-established scientists and interesting students, that you learn so much beyond your research. And for me personally, I am still in touch with a lot of the students that I've met in my REU program. There are a lot of smart students, and they're just like have really interesting characters that you can learn from a lot. And a lot of the students that I know keep coming back and working the research, and it develops a lot of area of interest for them, and exposes them to stuff that they know, or they didn't know that they care about, and also opens you to connections with the Space Center and the UAE, right? Because the whole reason I'm talking to you here today is because I did the RU, and I had some people in the Hyperactive Space Center talk to me about it. So it's just a win-win in all situations, essentially. The second sort of thing that goes beyond research with respect to is your communication skills. And you might think that you might have a communication skills, but it's really different when you have to communicate something that's really specific and technical to people who might not have spent a lot of time on that thing as much as you did. So it develops in you that sense of communication skill, that you have to communicate your results and findings with people who have never seen the thing that you've worked on. And so you learn how to speak essentially on different levels to different people. And however you did that in a poster or a paper. And you also get the benefits out of the technical skills that you get from the program, because you'll be doing some really technical research work, right? Because for me, it was a lot of data analysis and figuring out how did the engineers do their work. And so there's this aspect of the technical skill. And also you build your resume, and research, you're really trying to get a research experience in some really esteemed institutions, right? So that means that in your resume that looks really good, because even in, like, for someone who's an undergrad or still going to college, to have this like really rich research experience is something that a lot of people do not have access to, and a lot of people would kill for, right? So you're being offered that opportunity, which is something that's tremendous if you give it enough thought. And if you're really planning to go to grad school, it's just something fantastic for you, because the first thing that grad school looks for is your research experience. How much research did you do? What kind of research did you do? And why do you want to join their program? So you're being offered that opportunity early on in your career, so you can really just cement your resume, essentially, in a sense. And this is not something a lot of people can do. Like, not a lot of people can go to the University of Colorado Boulder or any of the esteemed institutions that the Space Center partners with. And the opportunity that you're being offered actually is not is not it's not something typical. It's really something new, because you go to that place that's completely alien to you, to your culture, and you're submerged there with people that you don't know, and you have to figure your way out through it. And it really makes you grow out a lot. So that's why I would say in the beginning, it's something that goes beyond research, essentially. Um, that's really all I had today. So I'm cutting short. I'll leave it to you guys if you have any questions.
All right. Uh, thank you, Abdullah. Um, now that you've heard what Abdullah has to say in terms of experience, if any one of you has any questions with regards to experience that can be tailored to Abdullah, please feel free to leave those. I think this would be a good opportunity to hear it live from someone who actually did take part in the RU program. But now that since we've concluded both presentations, I'm going to go ahead and view all questions in the questions and answer box and see there's anything that we could answer. Um, if anyone is sending any questions through the chat box, please do leave them in the question and answer box, because we will only be reviewing the questions there. Okay, so let's see. Hussein Sajwani mentions that, hi, I applied last year, but then COVID happened. I graduate this summer, but I still have to do an internship. This RU can be counted as one. Can I apply again? Yes, Hussein, you can apply again, but I can assume that you're graduating this summer, which means you are a senior. And we try to provide this opportunity to um, these sophomores, juniors, and seniors who are in their first semester only. But um, you might still get a chance to apply in the RU program um, if we were able to accommodate as well. So I do encourage you to apply, because there is a possibility of you being accepted in the RU program um, for the next summer, which is summer of 2021. Okay, how many, the camp is how many days? This is a question by Mahra. I believe you're referring to the RU boot camp. It takes up to, it's usually 3 days, but sometimes it would change. So it's usually 3 days of intensive um, uh, I wouldn't call it intensive, but like to provide the student with a solid foundation in space science and in research. So we would provide sessions that such as the introduction to the Emirates Mars mission, introduction to Python programming, and some mini projects known as the build your own space mission, where you'll be able to identify certain ways on how to set your own objectives, what your aim is, and what your plan is, just to familiarize yourself with what scientists tend to go through with things when it comes to space science research. Okay, this is a question that I get a lot, which is from Yezen. He mentions, how can a non-local be part of this program? Unfortunately, at this current stage, this program is only open to Emirati undergraduates. However, we do plan to have a program that is similar, or possibly open this specific program to non-Emiratis, basically. However, if you do share with us your contact at the email shared, which is ru@mbrc.ae, and mention that you would want to be placed in our contacts list. So whenever there is an announcement, a new announcement for international students as well, we'll be sure to send that over to you as well. But unfortunately, as of now, the RU program is only for national students. Okay, does the program accept freshman students? No, so it only starts off from sophomore students up until seniors in their first semester. Okay, another anonymous question. Do you prioritize science students on engineers, although engineers usually have more knowledge in technical softwares and programming languages, but pure science students seems to be always be prioritized? In the case of the RU program, I'm going to just share this. We do have a lot of engineering students. We do not tend to prioritize whether it's because you might have an engineering student who's interested in space science research and exploration, and other than that, and then you do have students in the sciences that might not even be interested in this and will be interested in other fields of science. So we don't only look at what a person is actually interested in and what they're good at, but we also take into consideration where a person's passion lies. If you are great at engineering, but you're interested in the space field and you're willing to take part in conducting research and reading more about science and things like that, we'll be more than happy to have you on board. And we wouldn't prioritize one or the other. At the end of the day, the RU program is open for both, for basically all students under in STEM fields as well, whether they are science or engineering students. We do not tend to favor one over the other.
And Moses, just to add to that, I'm also my background is also in engineering too. So and I got into the RU program. So you can do really well if you're in engineering. It shouldn't be a burden to you.
Yeah, thank you for that input, Abdullah. Okay, let's see. Mahra asks as well, mashallah, there's a lot of questions. I'll try my best to get to you all by 1 p.m. Mahra asks, on an estimation, how many students will be accepted in the summer of 2021? We tried to get up to at least 10 students. And this is a very, very rough estimation, considering that since we don't know yet whether the RU program will take place virtually or whether it will be face to face up until summer of 2021. In both cases, because if the RU program does become virtual, you would have a good amount of students who would not want to take part in the RU program, and some mentors who will not be, I wouldn't say wouldn't be willing, but would have this kind of boundary to mentoring students because of the time difference we have. So I think that should answer your question. So on estimation, I would say at least possibly 10 students. Okay. Mahra also asked, will you choose whether the students will go to France, US, or UAE? Um, we tend to see where the student's preference lies, where would be a good place for them. Other than that, we would try our best to pair the student to the mentor that's right for them as well, to ensure that their knowledge is going to be exposed at the right place. So other than the student's preference being taken into consideration, we will also ensure that the student actually goes to the right place. Okay. Um, I'm trying. I want to see if there's any question for Abdullah here. Okay. There's a question to from Yazan to Abdullah. Do you pick what kind of research you want to work on, or do the mentors pick this for you? Also, uh, how do you pick your partners or mentors? I believe I'll answer the second one. However, you can answer. Do you pick what kind of research you want to work on, or do the mentors pick this for you?
So I guess I'll go with the first one. In general, as far as my experience go, no, you don't pick the research that you uh, want to work on, but there's a lot of flexibility, as Moses said, because you can work with people in researches that they work on, and you're in a group with a lot of people, so you know what everyone works on because you get to hear about it. So if it happens that the thing that you're working on is not the thing that you're the most excited about, there's always the good chance that you can work with other people in something that you like, or you can work with your mentor in something else that you like. There's a lot of room to maneuver here, I guess.
Right, thank you, Abdullah. As for your second question, Yazan, which is how do you pick your partners or mentors? As I mentioned, this is based on your own preference. There's one side of it, as well as we try to locate you in the best possible place where we would be able to see your experience or your knowledge being at least used and gained at that specific location as well. Okay, let's see. Anonymous question. Regarding mechanical engineering students, is there a program for them since there is nothing mentioned about mechanical engineering students? As mentioned, this program is open to science and engineering students. So if you are a mechanical engineering student, you are able to register for this program. We did have a good number of mechanical engineering students as well that did take part in the RU program. So if you are a mechanical engineering student, please feel free to register for the program, and there will definitely um, uh, we will definitely be able to accommodate um, if you do get accepted into this program. Okay. Question from Bashayr. Where can we see the recorded session? This session will be shared in the Emirates Mars Mission website. within the couple of days. So whoever does not get the chance to view this whole session, it will be up on the website for you to view, most likely under the research experience for undergraduates program tab as well. Okay. Okay, question to Abdullah from an anonymous attendee. How much of your technical knowledge and studies was needed in the research?
A lot. You'd be surprised. I'm sorry. Do you want me to go ahead or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, a lot. You'd be surprised. Like a lot of the stuff I've learned in applied mathematics, like coordinate transformation, and a lot of technical stuff helped me a lot. But also, a lot of the stuff that I was doing were really new to me, and I was doing them with people who have been doing it for 30 years. So I did not feel embarrassed to ask a lot of stupid questions. And you would be surprised how fast you can be an expert on something compared to others just because you spend the time doing it. So yes, a lot of my technical skills helped me a lot. A lot. Also, the skills related to coding, but there was a lot of skills that I have to pick up, and my mentors was a great help with it.
Thank you, Abdullah. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. Okay. Can we join a question from Ken Al-Ahbabi? I hope I'm getting your name right. Can we join RU for our internship? This is basically between you and your home university. If they are able to count the RU program as your internship, then this can be, like, there's no issue from our end as long as your main university is able to accept the RU program as part of your internship. So let's say if you do get accepted or you would like to join this RU program and you do get accepted, I would encourage you to ensure that there is some form of agreement between you and your either dean of your own college or anyone from your own university that specifies that we can count the RU program as your internship, just to avoid any issues from happening at a later stage. Okay, a question from Alia. Based on what do you choose the students? We choose the students based on their background. First of all, whether it's a science or engineering. We consider their research experience. We consider their programming knowledge as well. And if they're actually interested in space science or research or anything that falls along the lines of the RU program. So these are certain things that we mainly take into consideration. Other than that, we tend to see, that's why we normally do a lot of interviews with students that do get shortlisted for the program, where it's kind of good to actually see where a student's passion lies when you're face to face with the student instead of having a person type down a personal statement. It's easier to assess a student when they're face to face instead of typed. So these are the main things that we tend to choose the students based on that. Other than that, it would be something like the basic things, such as if you're a freshman, most likely you wouldn't be able to get into this program. So it would be things like that, but mainly it would be knowledge in science, knowledge in research, any research experience, any programming experience, when where your science passion lies when it comes to the space science research. Okay, let's see. Uh, Anonymous attendee asks, is there any restriction for the GPA? Honestly, I wouldn't say we consider it isn't that groundbreaker where you, let's say if you have a GPA of 2.5, but I like with the work that you do, with the and where your passion lies and where everything um, is set for you, and where I see that there that this specific student, even though that they have a GPA of 2.5 in comparison to a student who would have a GPA of 3.6, for example, that might not that would be fine to take part of the RU program, but not wouldn't be very interested in it. This doesn't really matter. We don't tend to GPA is a good indicator, but it's not something we focus on 100% when it comes to accepting students to the RU program. Okay. Let me see what other questions we have. Abdul Rahman asked a question that says, when I want to submit my application, I clicked on the submit button, but nothing happened. Is there a way to tell if my application was submitted? One, you should receive an email, just to clarify. Second thing is that if there's an issue with the registration form, try a different browser if that's okay with you, and make sure that all the tabs have been filled out. That should work, but I'll get this sorted in the case that other students might find difficulties with their registration form as well. Okay, let me see if there's questions at the bottom here. A question from Hanan Ashamsi. She states, is there a preference for universities? If I'm not sure what you mean here, but if this means that if there is we accept certain students from certain universities, I wouldn't think so. We don't have a I wouldn't call it this, but like a biased opinion on certain universities in the UAE. We basically assess the student himself or herself when it comes to the RU program. I hope I answered your question. If it isn't your question, please feel free to submit another question here. Okay. A question from Yezen. I think I have about 12 minutes here. I'll try my best to answer as many questions as possible. Okay, question from Yezen. One for Abdullah and one for me. Okay, I have one question to you, Abdullah. What do you mean by there are a lot of people to work with?
Yeah, so the RU is not a program for just the students who are in this like Zoom session or from Mohammed Space Center. You'll be doing it with a lot of students from all over the US and the world. So in my case, I was doing it with 16 different students in LASP, and they're applying to it from all the universities in the States, and each one of them was doing a different project with a different mentor. So that's what I meant by different students. You'll be working by yourself with your mentor, but you always talk with your peers, and you do a lot of activities with them and spend a lot of time with them. So if you're interested, you can work with them in the
Abdullah, you cut off for a moment there. I'm not sure if we could hear you at this point.
yeah,
Okay,
I'm not sure how much I answered from the question. I'll skip it.
we're good now.
You're good now?
Yep.
Yeah, so I was saying you're going to be working with there are a lot of students there who are working on different projects with their mentors, and you're going to be working with your mentor, but these are going to be your friends who you're going to see a lot and probably be in the same place with them all the time. So you're going to have a lot of discussions with them about what they're doing. And if you're interested, you can help them with what they're doing or ask your mentor to do something else that they care about. So that's what I meant by working with other people, really.
Thank you, Abdullah. So as Abdullah mentioned, we're not the only center that has something like the RU program. You do find it in LASP and SSL as well, where they also accept students, either international students as well. However, let's say if there's a national student who is going to go to LASP for the RU program, they tend to work with students over there as well. Second question by Yezen in the same message is, okay, no, that wasn't the question. So yeah, from our end, we would take a rough estimation of at least 10 students for the next year, maybe. However, students do have encounters with other students, from international students and other mentors as well. Okay, an anonymous question here, which is, do we have to have a heavy knowledge in programming prior to the RU program? No, you don't. At least a good foundation in one programming language should be sufficient. Okay. Al-Reem asks, if it was a virtual program, will traveling abroad still be available? The reason why we try to have face-to-face interactions between student and mentor, this is a lot easier. However, the only reason why we consider a virtual program was mainly because of the COVID issue, and possibly if there are students who do have travel restrictions within their own families, this might be possible for them as well. Um, at the end of the day, we try to accommodate as many people as possible, but we try to encourage a face-to-face interaction with their mentors and with other students as well. So traveling will only be available if we're able to basically make it past the border. That will be it. Okay, let's see. Okay, anonymous question. For the research experience, should my research be published or could be a research I have done for university? It can be both. You can share, I believe this is for the registration form, but any research experience you've had that is requested does not have to be something that has been shared in international conferences. It can just be something that you worked on in your university. Okay. Are international students studying at your universities eligible for the RU program? As mentioned, RU program is currently only for Emirati nationals, and if there are any other program that is open for international students, we'll be sure to share that with you. So just leave your email address, just send it through to ru@mbrc.ae so I could add you to the contact list, and we'll be sure to share any program announcements with you as well. Okay, I'll just try to find as many different questions for the last 7 minutes. Okay, let's see. Shamma El Tamimi asks, for people who applied before COVID and are thinking of reapplying, are we requested to provide new recommendation letters? I would say so. If you applied last year, then I think you can resubmit the same recommendation letter. However, we would always encourage that you do submit a new one each time you do apply for the RU program. But you can resubmit if you reapplied if you applied before and you did not get accepted. I believe I answered that. Okay, Aisha Yamahi asks, do you accept students majored in cellular biology? If yes, since this is under science, you are able to register. I wouldn't say I won't guarantee an acceptance because there is a whole pool of students that register for the program. But yes, you will be eligible to participate in the RU program. Okay, I'm starting to see a lot of similar questions. Okay, let's see. Okay, Muhammad Al Fahim asks, can I still apply? I think this you can answer this, Abdullah. Muhammad Al Fahim asks, can I still apply if I'm studying abroad and not in the UAE?
Yes, I applied while studying at the University of Boulder here, so you can definitely do it.
Thank you. Okay. Um, okay. Mansoor Al-Ali asks, I will finish my first year on 1st of January. However, I will start my second year on Feb. I don't have time to download my academic transcript of my first year as it takes time. Because of that, we know the deadline of the RU program is on January 3rd. What should I do? You can upload what you currently have now, And in the case that you do get shortlisted and for an interview, possibly with the RU management team, you are able to restate this and maybe share with us an updated academic transcript later on in the year. So this can be requested, but you can just upload what you currently have now as a freshman student. Okay. Okay, so Zayed asks, the program is unlikely to accept students who are graduating in June or July 2021. No, by that time you would have already been a graduate while the RU program is running. Um, we tend to not accept graduates for the program. That's why, as mentioned, students should be in their first year as seniors uh, by fall 2021. Um, Not sure if I asked you this question, Abdullah, but you can go ahead and answer it since I've been seeing the same question. Are students expected to already have a lot of technical skills, or do you learn as you work on the project?
So I don't think anyone would expect you to have any really knowledge at all about the stuff that you'd be doing research about. Like no one expects you to be an expert on space physics or the solar cycles. You'd be expected to have some skills, and the boot camp is really going to catch you up to speed with what's going to happen. So I'd really advise paying attention during the boot camp. But also your mentors are going to be a good guide because they're going to guide you towards they're going to give you resources to catch up, and they're going to be there for you throughout the whole process. So I would say don't be afraid of asking a lot of stupid questions because that's the best way to learn. But no, you're not expected to know a lot of stuff.
Thank you, Abdullah. Question from Wafa. Um, when will the RU program announce if the program will go virtual or be held face to face? Well, if a student would be interested in to participate in the RU program, I don't think it would matter now because we would only be able to know about this later on in the year, possibly in maybe in April, March or April at least. So I would say if you would be interested, regardless if it was virtual or face to face, you can still apply. And then let's say if you prefer this to be a virtual experience, you can let us know and then we could try to arrange something from there. But if you are interested in joining the program, I would say try not to miss the deadline since you have time from now to apply, and then possibly we can work things out as we go. Okay, we have 1 minute. I believe we can answer like one more question. Okay, question from Zayed. How will accepted students be chosen to work abroad or local based on what? So it's basically based on your preference as well as where we see you fit in which location. Okay. Uh, this basically answers your question, Kanna Al-Ahbabi, where you mentioned, can we choose the uni we want to work in? Um, so you can share your preference, but we will try to locate you in the right place. Okay. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. As mentioned, we're trying to close the session by 1. There's a few questions that are left open. But I think we covered a lot of questions that are repeated. However, as mentioned, if you do have any questions, please feel free to email us at ru@mbrc.ae. But since the program has just recently been announced, we're expecting a flood of emails as of now. So do send us your email through of any inquiry that you might have, and we'll be sure to respond to you within a week. Other than that, if you do send your emails through and you still did not get a response, truly apologize, but you will definitely hear a response from us within a week. So I believe that's it for now. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I hope everyone has a good day. Thank you very much for everyone for joining this session, and thank you very much, Abdullah, for sharing your valuable insight with the rest of the students as well.